Brent Gorda,
who needs no introduction,
is a general manager in the High Performance Data Division at Intel.
Thank you, Steve.
I think that's what's written here. How'd I do?
You spelled manager wrong. That's manger.
He's a general manger.
General manger.
Brent Gorda, ladies and gentlemen.
Sir, thank you. I don't know the whole elbow thing. So once a quarter, since we started Wham Cloud, I give kind of an impromptu State of the Union address internally. And it's always riddled with typos and bad prose and so on. But it's really for me to tell the staff what's going on in the world and how we're doing. And after the last one we did in January, I got a number of interesting comments. You're more upbeat now than you've ever been before. There's more interesting relationships than there's ever been before. And while I had tried to be very positive in the past, it's really coming to true now that Lustre has turned the corner, come of age, and is a real competitor in the marketplace. Certainly we all know that in high performance technical computing, it's been the market share leader with the national labs and the universities and so on. But more and more we see examples of industries, oil and gas clearly. We've got Chevron here in the audience, Volkswagen, aerospace, financial services, just all over the place. We're seeing more and more use here. I wrote a State of the Union letter a month ago, but it just got published last week on insideHPC. Thank you, Rich. And one of the things I pointed out there was that PayPal has been using Lustre for a couple of years now. PayPal's not a HPDD customer. They're probably an Intel customer, I don't know, but they're using Lustre to do real-time fraud analysis on transactions that are going across the web, not just eBay, but all sorts of transactions. Very interesting use case, and evidence that our favorite technology has more leg than just scientific simulation, which is where we want to take it. So I have way too many slides here, so I'm going to go through them probably as fast as you can pay attention. Here's the way HPC lays out today. There are two main competitors. I really want to go after that other main competitor, and I think this community, by organizing together, can really go take a bite out of GPFS's business. In reality, if you slice HPC into technical computing, Lustre has the market share at about 30%, and GPFS is more like 18%. And that reverses if you go to business computing. Business computing pays the bills a lot better than technical computing. Those of you who are vendors know that the margins are fairly thin in academic and lab environments. The businesses pay their bills and pay, higher margins on that. GPFS is making a lot more money. And I think there's a lot of opportunity on the table for this community. I think the competition is clear, and I think you've seen a lot of talks out of Intel. I think all the talks this morning were out of Intel, and I said in a couple yesterday. We're laying out all of the activities that we're dreaming of, working on, bringing to the open source tree for this community to go out and compete. I'm going to talk a bit about Lustre products from Intel, because this is a vendor conversation. I'm going to have to watch the time, of course. But I want to talk about our strategy. Intel's clearly the leading contributor to the Lustre project. You saw Chris Marone's talk with all of the slides and bar charts and so on. Our goal here is to help lead the community out of the single vendor era. We're not done yet. 5 years ago, Oracle was the single vendor. For the past 5 years, Wham Cloud and now Intel have been propping up this community to help it get leg under itself and help it get to this point where it can go out and compete. I want my business to be Intel Manager for Lustre, adding value-added software on top with the Hadoop stuff that we've done with the Cloud Edition, putting ZFS on it. We want to be the best provider of this open source technology. We do not want to control the open source technology. We think the community needs to be in control of that. This talks about the natural progression of Intel, from Wham Cloud taking over the tree and propping up the community, to Intel helping the community get its legs under us. And right now we're discussing this turning of the corner to where the community drives the roadmap, where the major releases, as Chris called them, not feature releases, in the future will come from OpenSFS. Intel wants to have a seat at that table and wants to help those releases come out. But we will take those releases and we will make products out of them for our partners to compete, hopefully mostly with GPFS and less with one another. To that end, clearly we donate a huge amount of effort. We've retaken a board seat with OpenSFS. We're trying to help recruit a new chairperson for the community. I think what I want to get across here is that we need an alignment of the community, that the real enemy is GPFS, other file systems. Let's go out and take advantage of the growing storage market and make Lustre a top-tier player in that. So our work on Lustre, with the community taking over the releases, we actually get freed up resources back to Intel. We've been putting 15 to 20 full-time bodies on these releases over the past 5 years. That's a lot of effort that we get back. We're not getting it all back, of course, because we're still going to be in there helping with that. We're going to put that talent to work directly for our customers and directly on the development projects that you've been hearing about to increase the features that are necessary to compete in that market. In addition, we are aggressively hiring for new projects. Last week, Intel announced the Coral project with Cray, where Argonne is buying a $200 million system, which are the stepping stones to exascale. Intel Lustre is a big part of that. We have a lot of development work in there. We're hiring a lot of user space programmers for this, which is not typical of this community. A lot of the work is done in the kernel, so this is allowing us to open up and bring in more talent. A little side note here, Intel, I am extremely proud to work for Intel because Intel has taken a stand and is helping the technical community get out of the dark ages. Intel stood up earlier this year, the CEO, and said Intel will pledge $300 million to go fix this gender imbalance, this minority imbalance. And by 2020, Intel will have a workforce that mirrors the population rather than a workforce that is entirely made up of guys that look like me. Receding hairline, white, getting gray. So I'm very proud of Intel's taking the step there. So we now have 3 products from Intel. The Intel Enterprise Edition for Lustre is what you've heard us talk about for about 2 years now. And this is the flagship product that has the Intel Manager for Lustre, which I believe there's a slide in here if I have time to get to it. We also run in various cloud environments. AWS is the one that's most public. Watch this space. There's some really, really interesting stuff going on here. This is a clear example of moving beyond HPC and into other environments. And what's going on in the cloud right now that hopefully we can start talking about soon, maybe months, maybe next time this year, or this time next year. Very interesting stuff going on there. And then the new one that we've just introduced is the Foundation Edition. Now I think I've got a slide on that. Enterprise Edition, this is the IML screen dump. We've shown this now for 3 or 4 years. One thing I want to point out about this and talk about how we collaborate with our customers and with our channel partners. E4 and Dot Hill, who have a table out here, are adding value on top of IML. Go out and talk to them and see the software that they've built, which is also general purpose. They've tied it to Dot Hill, but it'll work on other platforms. Incredible software that they're bringing to add on top of IML, and we're welcoming them open arm and letting them add value to their products. Foundation Edition is maybe where it gets a little bit interesting. Foundation Edition is us taking the community tree and providing it to our customers who want to use the community tree. We are no longer point on the releases. OpenSFS and EOFS are driving the releases. Our customers, some of them want to use those releases, so we need a way to support them. We take a snapshot of the release from the community. We do our own testing, our own bug fixing, interact with our customers to give them patches and updates. 2.5.4 is available now to our customers, and we're pledging future releases for folks who are working with us. Checking time. Yes. We are now working with over 100 channel partners worldwide. You can get access to Intel Lustre from almost everyone who sells storage or compute worldwide. We're expanding this to include software partners, cloud partners. We want to create the best product possible out of this open source technology and make it available economically to you, the consumer, to you, the channel partner, and enable you to go after these hugely expanding markets of cloud and big data while not giving up on HPC. The while not giving up on HPC part, many of you have heard about DAOS, the next generation application object storage project that Eric Barton's been working on. A large amount of effort is going into that. The Argonne Coral project is doing a huge amount of work on DAOS. DAOS is maturing. There's a proof of concept software out there now. We're adding to that. All of it open source. Intel this year, I believe, was the #1 contributor to the Linux kernel. Intel knows how to do open source. I was looking at you, Steve. Were you holding numbers up at me?
We just got somebody, San Diego just joined. So.
San Diego just joined.
Yeah. They filled out the paperwork and everything.
For OpenSFS?
Yeah.
Oh, so everybody's excited. Good.
Yeah.
So my last point is Intel really knows how to do open source. I made the comment last year that Intel raised our game with respect to open source. Intel has, as you might imagine, a bevy of lawyers. Before we're allowed to release any product, we need to go through a review process. Before we're allowed to not release a product, we have to go through the review process. Let me explain that. If we are to release a product called Intel Enterprise Edition for Lustre with a feature in the core component of Lustre, we have to go up in front of a board and justify not releasing that source code if we're trying to do that. There's a huge amount of resistance inside Intel for anything that looks like hiding the ball. We're not about hiding the ball. We're all about giving you the best product and playing nice with the open source community. So you're not going to see situations. Were you going to ask me a question, Steve? I was anticipating that. Sorry.
Well, I've got a bunch of questions for you.
Oh, darn, we're out of time. So I've babbled on long enough. If you've got questions, go ahead and.
Well, I mean, I guess the first one you're kind of addressing, and that is, you know, as you move forward.
Yes.
I'm working on that. Sorry. Thank you.
I can't.
I always take advice from Frank. So as you guys move forward, I mean, you're saying, well, you don't want to hide the ball. I mean, you're going to upstream everything you've got going on?
We were not going to upstream our management tool at this point.
Okay.
But clearly anything that's GPL and in the tree, we have to upstream. That's the rules. We play by the rules. Absolutely. There'll be no exceptions to that.
As it's
if you see an exception to that, my phone number's on the card. Call me and tell me about it. You know, we're clearly not able to cover everywhere, but that's what the review panels are for. We go up in front of the PDT and say, we're releasing this, and they say, where's the source code? How's it made available to the community?
All right. I guess, you know, if IU wanted to buy Enterprise, I mean, is that affordable for university?
Enterprises cost the same as any other version. We haven't charged more for the different versions. We charge what our support costs have been. Actually, they've gone down a factor of 2 since we got to Intel. All of the features that we add on top of that just come for free with the cost.
Do any of your partners distribute Enterprise as part of?
I think almost all of them do.
Okay, so
maybe Brett could tell you some that don't.
All right, so if I pick one of these vendors and decide to buy a Lustre solution from them and I pay them support,
you get the Enterprise Edition if that's what you want versus the Community Edition, and you get support with it. Yes.
All right. And I just want to be transparent, you know, I mean, what's going to be the difference between the community version and the Intel version?
Well, we've got 3 versions.
I mean,
right?
Well, sorry, Enterprise is the one that I'm...
Well, the Enterprise version will come with this software on top. It'll have the graphic interface to the management tool today, right? It's got the Hadoop infrastructure tied closely with Cloudera today, right? What else does it have, Andreas?
The ham.
The HAL and the ham, which let you tie that into Slurm and other workload managers coming in today, all included at the same price. Right, so the main difference will be that we will do additional testing and bug fixing and cherry picking of features that go into that. The Enterprise Edition is meant to be in a production environment that will be long-lived and supported for a long time. The FE Edition will be the one for the people who want to live closer to the leading edge, the tip of the development. There we will be doing a whole lot of bug fixing and testing and so on as well.
And those bug fixes will be upstreamed?
Of course, yeah. That's part of the deal, yeah.
Well, I mean, what's your release cadence like? I mean,
you have to ask Peter. We don't have a cadence right now.
Okay, I'm just trying to wrap my head around where things are going. All right. Other questions?
Better be a hard one, Aman.
Yeah, not a question, sorry, just a point. I do have IEL product briefs at the Intel table. If anybody wants the detail on what's in there, please stop by and we'll give the product briefs.
Okay.
Thanks.
Frank.
Please speak into the microphone. Take your own advice.
Take your advice from Dr. Sims.
Do you have a similar list of your key customers, you know, in the enterprise space you're willing or can share?
Brett, do we have a list of customers you're willing to share? Go see the sales folks at the table. I'm sure they can verbally give you some. I don't know what's what's written down.
We are all very familiar with the sites in the top 500 list, right? But you know, it became clear from your presentation that you want to go beyond that, you know, into the enterprise space. And at one point, it would be great to just have a list of reference sites.
So one interesting anecdote is Amazon doesn't tell us who's using it in AWS, so we don't have the list of customers in some instances.
Yeah,
but,
just remember we're a little different in that we generally don't sell to end users directly, right? We sell through our good friends at HP and others, right? So we certainly can help you with reference sites that we need to sort of work with you to be gentle with, right? But yeah, there's certainly that list that exists, but it's internal to Intel.
Yeah, I'm fully aware there are many sites that just don't want to be named or mentioned, right? But it would be nice to have something like that.
Okay.
I think that's all we got time for. Thank you, Brent Gorda.
Thank you.